FM NewsTalk 97.1 and AARP in St. Louis are proud to present the 54th Annual Moonlight Ramble Bike Ride, Saturday, August 5th in downtown St. Louis. Join us for an evening of fun as thousands of bicyclists take over the streets of St. Louis under the light of the moon. For a limited time, use promo code BIKE and save 10% on registration. It's the Moonlight Ramble Bike Ride, Saturday, August 5th. Brought to you by AARP in St. Louis. Get more information and register now at moonlightramble.com. FM NewsTalk 97.1 presents Psych with Mike with Michael Mahon. Brought to you by Royal Gate Dodge. Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram with the largest inventory of new Dodge vehicles in St. Louis. Visit them in Ellisville, Missouri or Columbia, Illinois. Online at royalgatedirect.com. This is Psych with Mike.
Good evening, St. Louis. A little bit after 8 p.m. Welcome into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. This is Psych with Mike. And I was telling my intrepid producer, Frank Ladd, that last week the top was off the Jeep when I drove down to the studio. This week it was not. And I have to say that my sinuses have been just pitching a fit this week. My allergies have just been so bad. So do you
even with all the rain, it hasn't washed all that out of the system for you yet?
Well, it actually makes it worse. So I don't know. I've never actually been tested. I just know that there is a week in May where I am just going to end up essentially not being able to breathe and being congested and just having just a fit of a time, and it just happened to be this week. But it's always when it rains, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Something happens, like I don't know, something like blooms or
mold
something.
Blooms or something. Yeah. No, I do not have any allergy symptoms.
You are
I never
lucky
have.
Man.
Not allergic to anything, so I feel for everybody, but I don't know what it feels like, and I'm really glad. Sorry.
Do you remember when Rush Limbaugh lost his hearing?
I do.
Yeah. So, and Tony Snow came on the show, and not my show, but on and ran the show for a while. Mm-hmm. And so when that was happening, I actually started to lose my hearing. And I went to my doctor and I said, this is a problem because in my line of work, I could go to work in a wheelchair. I could even go to work blind. I can't go to work deaf.
And not hear somebody.
Right. And so he examined me and he said, look, you're just getting older, and the eustachial tubes are the tubes that connect your ear canals to your sinuses, mm-hmm. and they get inflamed and blocked up. You're just suffering from allergies, and you're going to have to take an antihistamine when that happens. Excuse me. Otherwise, you're going to have this problem over and over and over again. And ever since then, that's just been my life.
Wow. And did he attribute it to any of the loud concerts you went to back in your youth?
No. I mean, it's something environmental. I mean, yeah, because it actually my eustachial tubes actually get inflamed. They actually, they swell up and then they
so
close down.
you take Claritin or something and you're good to go along those lines. That's interesting.
But I have to take the D kind, the decongestant kind, because that's what actually does it. For me. Yeah.
I didn't know that's what the D meant. I thought that meant daytime or something.
No, the D means decongestant.
Non-drowsy.
So that's the got the pseudoephedrine in it, and that means that's the stuff you either have to sign for or my doctor just writes me a prescription because I live in Jefferson County, and so that way I get it and I don't have to monkey with it and everything.
And stay away from any of the possible meth issues. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So tonight we are going to talk about some emotional regulation in just a bit, but if you want to get in contact with the show, you can call us at area code 314-969-9797 or 866-455-9797. You can follow me on Twitter at Psych With Mike, or check out the Facebook page at Psych With Mike. And, anytime anybody has any questions or just wants to talk about something, certainly we're always open to that. But you actually gave me an article last week that I was absolutely fascinated with, and it was on the way that the media is treating Donald Trump and the coverage of Donald Trump. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Well, it seemed to fit your conversations earlier about confirmation bias. Was that the term?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and it was a piece by Charlie Sykes. He's a conservative talk show host, and he kind of theorized that it seems like a lot of the people who are Trump supporters are not really Trump supporters. They're just anti-liberal people. So if the liberal people hate him, then Trump must be doing something right. Mm-hmm. And it was just that sense of everything seemed backwards, but it was along the lines of you were paying attention to media that confirmed your already preconceived viewpoint on something.
Right.
And that's kind of how he kind of tied it all into the whole anti-Trump, because
Exactly.
They're not really for him, but they're not really against him. They're just against the people who are against him.
And that was
it was very much. It made a little more sense in the story than I explained it there. But his name's
I think you did a
Charlie
great job.
Sykes. He longtime conservative talk show host up in Milwaukee.
And so it was originally in the New York Times. And so if anybody wants to look that up, the name of the article is "If Liberals Hate Him, Then Trump Must Be Doing Something Right." And what I liked about it was exactly what you were talking about, which is that people who are anti-Trump may not necessarily support Trump. They're just anti-left. And so they're going to do anything that they can to support anything that is getting on the nerves of the people on the left.
Yeah, Trump's. Here's a section of the story. Mr. Trump's most vocal supporters don't have to defend his specific actions as long as they make liberals' heads explode.
Yes.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. And Sarah Palin obviously likes explodey heads.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. But, it is exactly congruent with what I was talking about with confirmation bias, that I think even more, and we were actually talking a little bit about this on the DGS yesterday, the idea that people are just becoming more and more and more polarized. And the psychology tie-in for all this is that it is a form of confirmation bias, but also that people are beginning, I feel like that as a society, we are losing our ability to compromise. I don't see Congress doing that. When I was young, I remember people would go to Congress and they would actually try and pass bills. That they felt like that was their job. And even if you had to make a deal with other people that you didn't necessarily agree with, you did everything you could to try and make something happen. And I don't feel like we do that now. I feel like that everybody is just governing to the individual. And when you do that, there's always going to be somebody that disagrees with something, no matter how right, no matter how good, no matter how well presented that it is. And the more that we do that, then I think that we lose the ability to compromise. And things, as we know, for the last administration and now the beginning of the Trump administration, just come to a grinding halt. And so we were talking about this on the DGS, and Dave asked, okay, so what do you got to do to turn that around? And what I said is that there has to be something that blows it up. And I don't know what that thing's going to be. I'm afraid that whatever that is going to be really ugly and really uncomfortable for us as a nation. But I don't know how we're going to get out of this movement towards political correctness unless we have something that just shakes us to our core and makes us say, okay, no, we've just got to govern to the majority.
Or govern with compromise. Make deals that are good for everybody.
Well, but unless you're going to govern to the majority,
well, sir.
Yeah, I don't know how you would be able to make those deals.
Problem is that the majority currently is so razor thin, and everybody's viewpoints on both sides are so extreme from the center that you're if you go to that one right side majority, using air quotes here because it's a very thin one, you're not going to make the people in the middle happy.
Right. And I've never ever talked about this on the air. I do talk about it in therapy. There are 3 things that you're not supposed to talk about in therapy. You're not supposed to talk about politics. You're not supposed to talk about religion. And I can't remember what the third one is, but you're not supposed to. Yeah.
Okay.
And I talk about all those things. So I don't do anything the way that people tell me how to do it. I have a real aversion to that. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing. But I try and expose myself as much as possible to information from both sides. Like I remember when Rush Limbaugh was losing his hearing and Tony Snow took over the show because I listened to the show back at that time. And so I try and listen to both sides of the coin because I don't want to get into a place where I'm, living confirmation bias. But at the same time, I do think that for the most part, I am fairly socially liberal, although I also have some conservative viewpoints. I'm obviously very religious. So I try and temper my opinions. I try not to project my opinions onto other people, but that's kind of where I come down. And
you're sort of a moderate centrist, and probably both of these political parties right now don't appeal to you.
Exactly.
Because they're too far to the right and too far to the left in their words and actions.
You're exactly
and
right.
That's where a lot of the people are, and that's why it's that's why you've got this anti-Trump. They're not pro-Trump here, but they're anti the liberal, the hard left-wing liberal people.
Exactly.
So it's that type of that type of fight amongst the two parties and where everybody else is, which is probably a little more center than we all want to admit.
Well, exactly. But you're so right. You said it so well. And actually, I hadn't thought about it that way, but you are exactly right. I don't see anything about either of these parties right now that I find attractive.
Well, I think part of it is that you look at some of the people who are very vocal. Are they espousing anybody's views right now, or are they just vocal? Do they happen to have the microphone at the right time?
Exactly.
Who do they speak for?
Hey, Jim.
Hey, guys. I think the mistake you're making is drawing an equivalence between the two positions. If historically, the United States has been relatively conservative culturally and economically, and libertarian, for individual liberty. Those things, and John F. Kennedy, historically the darling of the Democrats, by today's Democratic Party standards, would be a right-wing radical.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
The center isn't the center anymore. Even today's center is pretty far to the left. And I fear, like you said, you sort of mentioned that you think that something big has to happen to resolve this, and I agree wholeheartedly. I think that some form of revolution, hopefully not bloody,
right,
but is going to be necessary to get us back to some constitutional basis and stop worshiping absurdity.
Right. I agree. I agree exactly with what you're saying, and I didn't use the word revolution yesterday when I was on Dave's show, but I agree with that sentiment. What I am wondering is, do people think that there is a way to do that through political? So we were talking on Dave's show, and Mark Close, who's on the show, was talking about, could it be just, an individual who started it, like a professor who said, I don't care what you say, kids, I'm not here to hold your hand. This is the real world, and I'm going to present this. And then other professors would see that and say, okay, yes, I'm going to go ahead and take a more firm stand on not trying to cater to the PC correctness of each individual student. I don't think it can be something like that. I think it's got to be something larger. I don't know if it can be done through a political venue, though I hope it can, that the right candidate appeals to enough people that wins an election and then that changes it. But how do you see that going down? Do you see it going down?
Well, I think the educational system is the problem. Kids now are being indoctrinated, not educated. And it starts from the education schools where they train the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They're being indoctrinated, and they pass that leftist indoctrination onto the children.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess a question I have for you guys, being from a psychological bent, is how can otherwise intelligent people fail to think so critically? They're not critical thinkers.
Right, absolutely.
They're just head nodders.
Yes,
that sounds great. Without considering the impact of it.
I couldn't agree more. Thanks, Jim. So the point that Jim was making about the idea that people are not thinking critically, that for me is I think essential. Now, as a university professor, I don't know how much I agree that it's necessarily the educational system. I do think that there is some to that. There is some credibleness to that because
is there a course that you as a professor has to go through to learn about the left-wing policies of the university that you're going to teach at?
There is
Do
not.
They sit you down and they say, this is our guide point, this is our viewpoint on this issue, and this issue, and this issue, and this issue? How do they try to indoctrinate you?
Well, the way that they do it is that there is a law called the ADA, which is the Americans with Disability Act. And so when a person goes and gets a diagnosis, usually a psychological diagnosis, then they are eligible for what are called accommodations. So that means that you have to do specific special things for them to help them through the class. So they might be able to get a note taker. They might be able to. So, for example, I teach a lot. I teach all psychology classes. And in some of the classes that I teach, one of the things one of the classes that I teach, which is a counseling class, we talk about the idea that what goes on in the class stays in the class and confidentiality. So then if there's a note taker who's coming in, who's outside of the class, but we're having these discussions that might be relating personal information for an individual student, is that a breach of confidentiality? Well, according to ADA, I couldn't keep that note taker out of the room, even if I disagree with them being there. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is that you are indoctrinated as a professor to believe in the idea that you have to cater to the specific needs of a student, even if you yourself may not necessarily agree that that is something that should be done. So it isn't necessarily an indoctrination. You're not necessarily sat down and told you must do these things, but it is made clear to you that you have to do certain things. Otherwise, the university is not going to support you. Yeah. Okay, we have to go to our first break, but we will pick this up, and I'm actually going to tie this in when we get back to what I'm going to talk about tonight, which is emotional regulation. So join us on the other side. Be right back.
Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych With Mike. Talk lines are open now, 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797.
The news of the day.
The president urged Director Comey
every day
to drop the investigation.
FM NewsTalk 97.1.
The lack of factual content.
Younger, smarter.
Impeachment.
Better.
Hi, I'm Tammy of Tammy Mitchell Hines & Company Real Estate Team, and we want to be the realtors to help you buy or sell your next home. Are you thinking about selling your house? Well, now is the perfect time. Homes are selling faster than ever if they are priced right and well staged. We also know that buying a home is one of the biggest investments you may ever make, but that doesn't mean it has to be stressful. Our amazing team of full-time realtors can help guide you through the entire process from beginning to end, including setting you up with one of our 3 moving trucks so you can move for free. We are consistently ranked the #1 independent real estate team in southwestern Illinois. Tammy Mitchell Hines & Company Real Estate knows how to get things done. We sell a house every 30 hours. With over 22 years of experience, I am confident that we can help you accomplish your goals. I believe buying or selling a home is not just a transaction, it's a relationship. So whether you are buying a home or selling a home in the Metro East, go to calltammy.com. That's calltammy.com.
Hi, this is Greg Dierberg. Dierberg's is proud that we're now your exclusive source for Dietz & Watson Originals. Dietz & Watson Originals are a line of deli meats and cheeses that are humanely raised, vegetarian grain-fed, with no added hormones, no preservatives, and no antibiotics ever. Dierberg's lineup includes USDA-certified organic choices and RBST-free artisan cheeses. We're proud to give your family the choice of Dietz & Watson Originals, now in St. Louis, only at Dierberg's. It's fresh, it's friendly, it's Dierberg's.
From the simple to the sophisticated, commercial banking products from the Bank of Edwardsville can enhance both your cash flow and your bottom line. When you're ready to grow your business, let's start a conversation. The Bank of Edwardsville is here to help with competitive rates, a variety of loan options, and local decision making. Call or stop by any of our locations and say, "Hello, we're the Bank of Edwardsville. Member FDIC, equal housing lender." Visit us at thinkthebank.com.
Hey St. Louis, Brett Hull for Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Royal Gate sets the stage this month with their Memorial Day event. Sign and drive a new 2017 Ram Quad Cab 4x4 for only $229 a month with 0 down and tax included. That's right, you can drive a new Ram for 0 down with taxes included for only $229 a month. That's a hull of a great deal. Visit Royal Gate in Ellisville, Missouri or Columbia, Illinois, just 5 minutes from South County, or at RoyalGateDirect.com.
See dealer for complete details.
Visit Royal Gate Dodge in Ellisville or Columbia, Illinois. Mention Psych with Mike and get the Royal package at no charge.
Well, I finally did it. I opened a 401k.
What? Why? Just wait for the inheritance. We've definitely got a rich uncle somewhere. We're one call away from the winner's circle at the Derby, dinners with multiple forks, a vacation home in the country, using summer as a verb.
You don't actually think that, do you?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Win a FunJet Vacations getaway to beautiful Jamaica with all-inclusive accommodations at Royalton the Grill. Log on to 971talk.com/beach right now and register to win a vacation package for you and a guest with round-trip transportation from St. Louis to Jamaica. The Royalton the Grill masterfully blends the unique Caribbean culture with luxury and top-quality service. Get all the details and register to win at 971talk.com/beach, courtesy of FunJet Vacations and Next Radio.
Talk lines are open now, 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. Now, more Psych with Mike on FM NewsTalk 97.1.
Welcome back into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. So before the break, we were talking about this idea of confirmation bias and the anti-Trump sentiment on the right that may not support Trump, but actually is just against anything that the left does and supports anything that upsets the left. And then we got into this idea of education. And so we're going to go to Travis and talk to him for a second. Travis?
Hey.
So what's going on with you tonight?
Not much. I did have a point about the administration in schools and how teachers can't say anything because students actually wield the power over teachers nowadays because students control the administration. But I actually, on your last thought, wanted to shift my comment a little bit you said people don't think critically anymore. And then you also talked about sort of indoctrination, and actually that's exactly what's happened to our schools because it's by design. You know, I'm a millennial, and I found it through research that, you know, when you talk about John Locke and philosophy, it used to be think reasonably and logically to come to an end. And then the Marxists came in, the Frankfurt School in 1930, and started teaching, no, you got to think with your feelings. And they started saying, you know, look at the system, decide if something is morally right or wrong, and then if that doesn't exist perfectly the way it exists in your mind, then there's something wrong with the system. But it doesn't teach them to find what's wrong with the system, which is why you hear stuff like systemic racism and, you know, all of these sort of terms that are very, very broad but never point to anything, because all their arguments really say is something's wrong because it's not right the way we picture it.
Well, I think that that's actually a really good point. So thanks for calling in, Travis. So a part of what I agree with a part of what Travis is saying, but I would expand on it that in the 1970s, what happened is that there was a movement towards what's called value-free education, which I think is what Travis was getting at. And that is something that absolutely definitively did happen. Now, I don't know that I would call it indoctrination, but there was this idea that you couldn't. When I was young, I used to go to classes called civics classes, and that meant that you would go to class and there was an actual class that you would sit in, and you would hand a pencil to somebody else. They would say, "Can I have a pencil, please?" You would hand them a pencil and say, "Yes, you may." And then they would say, "Oh, thank you for the pencil." And you would say, "You're welcome for the pencil." And that was actually a class. And we don't do that kind of thing anymore because the idea is that we can't project our values onto anybody, that everybody has the right to think whatever they want. And while I agree with that, I also believe that there have to be certain expectations that we have to be able to be a viable society. That if you just allow everybody to say, my opinion matters as much as anybody else's, while I support that 100%, we also have to be able to make laws and have expectations that say, even though everybody has the right to believe whatever they want, there are still expectations about behavior that we have to make so that the majority of people can stay safe and enjoy a good life. And while I'm not trying to do that to exclude you as an individual, it has to be done so that everybody can live in a society and be supported. So I do think that that is something that has happened. Now, again, I wouldn't call that indoctrination, but there is the pendulum has swung so far over that now individuals are finding it hard to be able to regulate their emotions when they are told no. And so this is a question of resilience, and it brings me back around to what I wanted to talk to him tonight, which is emotional regulation. And one of the things that I tell people all the time when they come and see me, and when I'm educating individuals who want to go into the field of psychology, is that no one has ever gone to see somebody like me to do talk therapy because they have a problem. And people say, "What?" Of course they do, but they don't. People come to talk to people like me when a problem that they have causes them emotional dysregulation. And so what that means is that as long as you can regulate your emotions effectively, you don't need help. It doesn't matter how large the problem is. But when you can't manage your emotions effectively, then even the smallest problem that you have is going to cause you great pain and anxiety, and you probably need somebody to help you with that. So the definition of emotional regulation is the ability to feel, identify, and express emotions accurately and appropriately. So this is represented by the idea of big boys don't
cry.
Okay. Fear is a sign of
weakness.
So I've been asking those questions for more than 30 years, and I have never, ever once gotten a different answer. But that means that if you are a male in our society, that there are certain emotions which you are told you're not supposed to express. They are socially taboo. And if you do that, then you can't effectively or accurately express your emotions because you are being forbidden from even identifying 50% of the emotional spectrum. And so that's a problem when you get into this concept of emotional regulation. And so in the next couple of shows over the next couple of months, I really want to expand this idea of emotional regulation and go into this in more depth. So we're just going to present it here tonight, but we are going to build on this as the show goes on, because it is really the central focus of all problems in the world. So every problem that you can think of in the world essentially is the result of somebody not being able to effectively emotionally regulate. So everybody says, oh, that's probably not true. But if you call me and give me a problem, I guarantee you I can let you know how it is that problem is the result of somebody being emotionally dysregulated, right? So when you think about the conflict in the Middle East, that conflict is going on because there are individuals on both sides of that conflict that believe a certain way. And they believe that because they can't get their way, that is existential. So existential is the reason we're here, and we've talked about that before. And when you can't answer that question, or somebody else is saying to you, well, your ideas are wrong and our ideas are right, that causes you a conflict and anxiety, and you then can't effectively emotionally regulate. So when we think about problems and this idea of emotional regulation, to bring this back into like what Travis was saying with the millennials, what happened was that in the 70s, we had this concept of value-free education, and we really wanted to train people how to be able to identify their emotions. So when I was in school and we were going to civics classes, there was no class that taught me how to be able to identify or express my emotions. And when I went to school, corporal punishment was still a thing, and the principal had a big paddle that hung on the wall behind his desk, and he had drilled holes in it because that way he could get better club head speed, to be able to swing the paddle, less wind resistance. And that was okay. Nowadays, if somebody, when you and Katie have children, if the school wants to discipline them through corporal punishment,
it's probably likely not going to happen.
You wouldn't stand for it, would you?
Probably not.
Right. And so back when I was younger, that was not even a thing. Like if you got paddled at school and you went home and told your parents that you got paddled at school, you know what happened?
Good. They're like, oh, okay. What'd you do?
You got paddled at home.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
yeah, probably.
Your hiney was already red and sore because you got paddled at school. Then you'd go home, and chances are that the school probably already called your parents. But if you told them that you got paddled at school, they'd just paddle you when you got home just on the principle.
Certainly a subject for another night, considering you have a whole show prepped. But perhaps an analysis of physical punishment and its usefulness or not.
Yeah,
I think would be a possible good topic down the road here in the next few weeks.
Absolutely, we could talk about that.
Probably. Sorry to
no
derail your conversation.
No. So because now we have this idea that the parents are able to and have the right to intervene, and we are trying to train those children to be able to identify their emotions and express them more readily. Now we have the idea that individuals have the right to be able to assert their own wants and needs above what we believe is good for the collective. So back when I was in school, most of our discipline was based on the concepts that were written out by a guy named Rudolf Dreikurs, who was a follower of Alfred Adler. So this was social psychology. So basically the idea was that you would give the authority to the children, to the majority, the silent majority of children, to be able to govern and rule themselves. So it's basically the concept in Lord of the Flies. Now, left unchecked, obviously, that can go horribly wrong, as it does in Lord of the Flies. So the parents' job, or the school administration's job, was to give the children proper guidance so that they could rule each other. And nowadays we say, no. You have to appreciate the needs, wants, and desires of each individual and cater to those needs, wants, and desires. even if that means that they are now existing in a world that is different or separate from the collective. So the collective now has to take their resources and support each individual, which means that the resources are spread very, very thin. And what happens is that individuals grow up in this idea, this world. So one of the things that exemplifies this greatly is the idea of everybody gets a trophy. So when I was growing up, everybody didn't get a trophy for participation. The people who won the games got the trophies, and everybody else waited until next year. Now, during the 1980s and 90s, we had this idea of giving everybody a trophy for participation. And the reason why that's a problem is because they've done actual scientific studies on this. And the best way to destroy an individual's self-esteem is to reward them when they themselves believe that it is not warranted. So when you give somebody a reward and they know they don't deserve it, that actually undermines their self-esteem more than telling them bad things. All right, we got to go to our second break, so we're going to talk more about this on the other side. Give us a call, 969-9797, 866-455-9797. Be right back.
Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych With Mike.
Goes fast. It's hard to make the good things last. You realize the sun doesn't go down.
Traffic reports at your fingertips. Real-time traffic online. Log on to 971talk.com for real-time traffic updates.
Brought to you by Frank Lita Acura with 0.9% financing going on now. Can't beat a Lita. Online at litaacura.com.
Family owned and operated since 1972, Lakeside Roofing is celebrating 45 years in the roofing industry and would like to thank you for your support over the years. They specialize in all types of commercial and residential roofing and ensure quality and professionalism. Lakeside offers expert installation and maintenance along with inspection services to fix and prevent problems before they occur. Call 618-344-2800 in Illinois or 314-241-5253 in Missouri to speak to a roofing expert today. For more information, visit lakesideroofing.com. Choose experience. Choose Lakeside.
Hi, Sean Vinson, President and CEO of Vinson Mortgage. You constantly hear mortgage companies advertising deceptive low interest rates with free this or free that, which is very misleading because nothing in this world is free. But that's not how we do business at Vinson Mortgage. The difference is we truly care. We look at your entire financial situation to find the best solution for you to save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars each and every month. We don't need to advertise a low deceptive rate because we already have the lowest interest rates and the best service. We have a loan program for just about everyone in every situation. And there's a reason our family's been in business for over 30 years, and it's simple. It's because we're here to save you money. If you're tired of the other guys screaming misleading low rates, call the name you know and trust, Vinson Mortgage, for an honest rate. 314-839-9999. That's 839-9999. Or chat online at vincentmortgage.com. NMLS number 225095, 12801 Flushing Meadows Drive, St. Louis, Missouri, 63131.
Hey, St. Louis, Brett Hull for Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Royal Gate sets the stage this month with their Memorial Day event. Sign and drive a new 2017 Jeep Cherokee Latitude for only $299 a month with zero down and taxes included. That's right, you can drive a new Cherokee for zero down with taxes included for only $299 a month. That's a hull of a great deal. Visit Royal Gate in Ellisville, Missouri or Columbia, Illinois, just 5 minutes from South County, or at RoyalGateDirect.com.
See dealer for complete details.
Visit Royal Gate Dodge in Ellisville or Columbia, Illinois. Mention Psych With Mike and get the Royal Package at no charge.
Well, I finally improved my credit score.
What? The band is about to be discovered. Rock gods don't need to worry about credit scores. We're supposed to think about how many guitars we've smashed, make ridiculous on-tour requests, tragically break up and blame creative differences.
Yeah, I'm not banking my retirement on a band that's never left your garage.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Conservatism is a way of life.
Weeknights, 9 to midnight.
It's not an ideology like liberalism.
Mark Levin.
It's a philosophy about life.
Weeknights, 9 to midnight.
On FM News Talk.
FM News Talk 97.1.
Talk lines are open now, 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. Now, more Psych with Mike on FM NewsTalk 97.1.
Welcome back into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. So it's about 8:45 in St. Louis. And I wanted to pick up a little bit on a conversation that Frank and I were having off mic. So the reason why this idea of did I talk about, was this on the air when we talked about the trophies, or
it was not on the air.
Okay. So when we left off, we were talking about how this idea of this value-free education and everything kind of causes people to have some difficulties with emotional regulation. I wanted to flesh that out a little bit. So this is very well represented by the concept that came in the 1980s and 90s, where every child who participates gets a trophy. And what I was telling Frank is that actually, they do studies on this, and they actually have found that actually destroys a person's self-esteem more than if you actually say negative things to them. And the reason is because what happens is that you give these kids a trophy, but you also keep score. And kids can't think abstractly. So the parents all say, well, we're going to give everybody a trophy for participation so they all feel good about themselves, but then you're also keeping score. And so what happens is the parents can resolve that conflict in their mind, but children can't. And so the children look at it like, well, why is it important to keep score and determine a winner, but then also give everybody a trophy for participation? They can't resolve that. That causes conflict. And so when you grow up in that society, if you get messages that are ambiguous often enough, then you don't know what the expectations are. And so then that breeds insecurity because you don't know what to think or what to expect. And that's why that is a problem. So I wouldn't have a problem with giving everybody a trophy. I just say don't keep score. But the minute that I say don't keep score, everybody, goes into anaphylactic shock. Oh my gosh, we have to keep score. Well, why would we play the games? Well, because it's fun is why you would play the games. I mean, if we're giving everybody a trophy, then the reason we're doing that is because it's fun to go out and play the game. If we're keeping score, it's because winning makes a difference. And you can't expect a child to be able to understand the ambiguity between keeping score and then giving everybody a trophy. And so then that causes them to be less good at regulating their own emotions because they don't know how to identify and express their emotions effectively and appropriately. So the first aspect of this emotional regulation piece was that you have to be able to feel the emotion. And we got down to this idea, or I talked about this just a little bit ago, the idea that big boys don't cry, fear is a sign of weakness. So if you're told that there are certain emotions that you are not supposed to express or feel, then you are going to hide those emotions. You're not going to express those emotions. And then that's going to cause you a real conflict because your body is still going to experience those emotions, but you're not going to want to express them because you've been told not to. And so that's going to be a problem in that area of being able to effectively emotionally regulate. And so what I am talking about, what I want to talk about, and what I want to talk about as we go forward is how do we encourage good emotional regulation? And the first thing is that we have to demonstrate good, effective emotional regulation. So if you look at the way that the Congress is running, the way that we are so polarized in the political arena, that's not a good example of effective emotional regulation. If you look at children's sporting events and you have a parent who is on the sideline who's losing their mind because Johnny is being treated unfairly, that's not a good example of emotional regulation. So a lot of the ways that we as adults are demonstrating emotional regulation to children is not very good. And one of the things that I am imploring people to do is to consider, how are you acting when you are around children, even when you may not be aware that there are children around you. So every time any of us leaves the house, we are essentially models of emotional regulation, not only to children, but also to every other human being that we come in contact with. So a lot of counseling is really just about effectively modeling emotional regulation to a client. The better that a person's modeling is, the more that they are going to interpret that, or that they are going to be able to take that information and put it into their lives and use it as a way of emotionally regulating themselves. So this idea of emotional regulation is a really, really significant one. And I really want to try and unpack this as we go along. But again, I want to get back to this idea of being able to feel emotion. Some people are not good at being able to feel emotion. So there are certain reasons why a person wouldn't be able to feel an emotion. So there may be certain things that are going on in the brain that make it less likely that a person is going to be capable of being able to feel an emotion. So one example of this is called anhedonia. So anhedonia is the inability for individuals to experience pleasure. And one of the reasons that people can experience anhedonia is because there is a deficiency of what are called dopamine receptors. So dopamine is one of those neurotransmitters that we've talked about before. And when you have fewer dopamine receptors, so that means fewer little cells that actually get dopamine in them and respond. When you have fewer of those cells in your brain, then your brain doesn't effectively use dopamine, and dopamine is the primary neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and a sense of well-being. And one of the reasons why this is so important is that the use of methamphetamine actually destroys dopamine receptors on the postsynaptic neuron. So that means that these cells that actually receive dopamine get destroyed when a person uses meth. And that's why meth is such an incredibly destructive drug, because it actually causes a person to have fewer of these dopamine receptors. And therefore, even if the person stops using the drug, they still are not going to be able to experience pleasure the way that they did previously, because now they have fewer of these dopamine receptors. So dopamine is one of the neurotransmitters that is manipulated when people take what are called mood altering or anti-anxiety, anti-depressant medications. And that can help people to be able to experience more pleasure in their lives and help them to be able to feel emotion more effectively, more efficiently. So when we think about mood disorders, depression, anxiety, these kinds of things, that's one of the reasons why medications are used to treat those disorders, because there is a biological component that is associated with actually being able to feel, to experience emotions. So then there is also that psychological component that's associated with being able to feel emotion. If you are educated to not cry, then you're being told don't feel sad. If you're being educated to not feel scared, then you're being told that you can't experience fear. And so when you're told that, then your body tries to contain those emotional experiences so that you don't feel them. And that causes a real detrimental effect in the human body. So then on the other side of that is what we've been talking about tonight, this idea of giving everybody permission to feel everything they want, but not to be able to contain or regulate that effectively. So if we are telling individuals, children specifically, that you get to go out and feel anything you want and nobody gets to tell you that's wrong. And actually, I support that message. When my kids were little, what I would tell them all the time is there isn't anybody in the world who's going to be able to sense your emotions better than me. And if you are actually experiencing a legitimate emotion for a legitimate reason, I will sit with you, I will laugh, I will cry, I will do whatever it takes to help you get through that. But what I won't do is I won't feed into this idea of self-created drama. So a lot of us end up creating our own drama because we tell ourselves things about what is going on in our lives and we can't let go of it. So that's called rumination. We've talked about rumination before. That is constantly putting an idea into your brain over and over again and not being able to let go of it. When we ruminate, when we think about something over and over again, we create these emotional experiences and we exponentially intensify them. So, for example, if you get treated badly by a significant other and you just tell yourself, this is unfair, I can't stand it, this is terrible, this is horrible, I'm not going to be able to live through it, then you're going to create an emotional experience for yourself. And the more that you ruminate on that, the more that you tell yourself how horrible it is, the worse that emotional experience is going to get. And eventually you're going to get to a place where you feel like that emotional experience is so profound that you can't take it anymore. And so that is poor emotional regulation. Teenagers do this almost all the time. Everything that happens in a teenager's life is absolutely exacerbated to an exponential degree because of the way that their brains are functioning. So we've talked about this before also, that adolescent brain has this stuff going on in it where their emotional centers, the amygdala, is developing very rapidly, and the logic centers are being overwhelmed by this emotional intensity. So adolescents are going to be able to create their own drama like no other beings on the face of the planet. And what happens is that parents who are well-meaning want to try and help their adolescents get through this, and they support the adolescents' creation of their own drama and their own emotional dysregulation, and that doesn't help the adolescent through it. So what we have to do is to help our adolescents be able to contain and stop the rumination and express the emotion appropriately and then let it go. And that's what I don't see happening very much in society. I see a lot of people going on tangents and railing on all the things that they hate, but I don't see people then being able to contain that information and let it go. So one of the things that I think we may have been better at, and I could be wrong, but that we may have been better at in previous decades was the ability to have a disagreement, but then be able to move past it. You know, there was I heard that Donald Trump today had gone back and retweeted something that Oprah Winfrey had tweeted back in December and was talking about it. So if the leader of the free world is not letting these things go, that's a real significant model of emotional regulation that people are seeing, both adults and children, and that may not necessarily be good for society. So we've got to really take this on as our own mission to be able to help our children emotionally regulate. And we're going to continue to talk about this, and I want people to be able to understand this. So if you have any questions about emotional regulation or anything else, you can find me, Michael Mahon, MichaelMahon.org. You can get podcasts of the show at that site or on 971talk.com/psychwithmike. And you can follow me on Facebook or on Twitter at Psych With Mike. Okay? So we're going to talk more about emotional regulation in the future. If you have any questions or comments, send those to me either through Facebook or via Twitter or my website. And we will be back next week for more Psych With Mike.
Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych With Mike.
Piece by piece, if I had you, if I could give you your dreams, if I were
St. Louis, Brett Hull for Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Royal Gate sets the stage this month with their Memorial Day event. Sign and drive a new 2017 Ram Quad Cab 4x4 for only $229 a month with zero down and tax included. That's right. You can drive a new Ram for zero down with taxes included for only $229 a month. That's a hull of a great deal. Visit Royal Gate in Ellisville, Missouri or Columbia, Illinois, just 5 minutes from South County, or at RoyalGateDirect.com.
See dealer for complete details.
Visit Royal Gate Dodge in Ellisville or Columbia, Illinois. Mention Psych with Mike and get the Royal package at no charge.
The Financial Symphony is a show that blends the worlds of music and finance together in one harmonious package. It features your local financial maestro, Jerry Means.
A lot of advisors out there are mainly giving accumulation advice or looking at the growth through your working years. You really need to take a look at, is your advisor giving you advice on preservation and distribution?
That's the Financial Symphony with Jerry Means, Sunday mornings at 9 on FM News Talk 97.1.
If you've been listening, you've heard Jerry Kelly asking energetic, intelligent folks to apply because we just keep growing. But have you ever considered applying yourself? If not, you may mistakenly assume the same as a lot of folks, that service industry jobs don't include good benefits. Not so. Jerry Kelly employees get family health care, and we match your 401k savings because life should be good. Jerry Kelly will even pay to put you through school. So visit jerrykelly.com. It could change everything.
jerrykelly.com. When Dad needed help getting around, I became his driver. Soon enough, it was up to me to be his housekeeper and financial manager, too. When he moved in, I became his cook and even his nurse. But no matter what roles I play, I know I'm still his daughter.
We understand the roles you play. So to help, we created aarp.org/caregiving, where you can connect with experts and other caregivers.
KFTK FM, Florissant. KFTK AM, East St. Louis. K254CR, St. Louis.
Powered by thehomeloanexpert.com.
FM News Talk 97.1.
Fox News Radio, I'm Tom Graham. President Trump playing the role of salesman-in-chief, negotiating a deal to send more than $110 billion worth of U.S. arms to Saudi Arabia, touting it as good for American workers.
Hundreds of billions of dollars of investments into the United States and jobs. The
president making his first overseas trip as commander-in-chief, also preparing to address Muslim leaders from at least 50 nations while in Saudi Arabia.
America first does not mean America alone, and that will be one of the themes of this speech.
Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, telling Fox News combating terrorism will also be a major focus.
This is something that the president of the United States believes that all children, Muslim children, Jewish children, Christian children, atheist children, ought to live in peace.
The president also planning stops in Israel, Italy, and Belgium. Tens of thousands of supporters of Iranian President Hassan Rouhani celebrating his re-election. Fox's John Huddy in the Mideast Bureau.
Big day, big turnout, big election, and big challenges ahead for Rouhani. He called the election a victory for, quote, freedom and independence. He's seen really more as a reform and liberal-minded leader. So his victory is a victory, if you will, for the moderates, for those who want more freedom within the country, freedom of speech, expression, and also better relations with the rest of the world. But he has many challenges ahead, such as reducing the country's high unemployment rate and also dealing with Iran's hardline elements.
Rouhani getting 57% of the vote. Closer to home, 37,000 AT&T workers on strike this weekend. This after failing to reach a contract deal with the nation's number 2 wireless carrier. NHL hockey Western Conference Finals, Anaheim slipping behind Nashville.
Leaves it for Forsberg. Save made, rebound, score! Albert! 2-1 Predators.
The call on NBC Sports, and the Predators now going up 3-1 with a goal just seconds ago with seconds left in Game 5. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Keeping you informed and up to date.
The president urged Director Comey to drop the investigation of General Flynn.
It's of Watergate size and scale. The lack of factual content.
This is probably a good time to take a breath.
The news and talk station for St. Louis.
I think it would be helpful to have less drama.
Donald Trump
fully explains the facts of this case.
FM News Talk 97.1.
Impeachment?
Impeachment is our system's last resort.
Younger, smarter, better.
The following is a paid program.
The following is a paid advertisement by Purity Products. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases.
Hello and welcome to Healthline by Purity Products. I am your host, Steve Summers, and I've got to tell you, we have got a fascinating show for you today. Now, if you're like most people, you may have noticed that when you hit 50, you kind of hit the wall. You know, between your joints, the heart, the brain, your eyes, your energy, you name it. Now, when you hit 50, you have to pay attention to your health. We all know that. So whether you're 40 or 50 or say in your 60s or 70s or even older for that matter, our guest today says he's discovered something that you can unlock the key to feeling better at any age. This is exciting. What is it? What are we talking about? Why do you need to know about this? Well, stay tuned. Dr. Neil Levin is on the line here. Dr. Neil Levin is a chiropractor. He's a nutritionist. He's a longtime advisor for Purity Products. Welcome, Dr. Levin. So great to have you back on the show today. This is a big story, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, Steve. And let's get right to the chase here. That discovery you talked about at the top there, it's krill oil, because krill oil is simply amazing for us. It's great for the heart, great for the joints, fantastic for the brain, for the eyes. I mean, I have people coming into my clinic every single day, and they want to feel better. I mean, they want to feel physically better, stronger. They want their joints to feel comfortable, but they want to stay mentally sharp. They want to keep that brain thinking like it did when they were younger. They want to protect themselves from coronary heart disease and maintain those flexible, healthy, youthful arteries for wonderful circulation. Hey, Steve, they want to boost their energy. And you know, why not? I mean, we deserve it. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today with this Krill Omega 50 Plus, which is the cutting edge combination, Steve, of krill oil, which is so fabulous for us, but we've infused the krill oil. Now, this is so important. We've infused the krill oil with the high omega-3 concentrated fish oil. You need to do that when you're dealing with krill, because krill just isn't high enough in omega-3. So many other important parameters and virtues, but you got to get that high omega-3 fish oil in there, and we've done that. So this is now the best of both worlds. But we didn't stop there. For the 50-plussers, we've added some vitamin D. We doubled the antioxidant power, and Steve, we actually increased the amount of krill by 67%. So this now becomes the finest omega-3 nutrient in the world as far as I'm concerned.
This is very, very exciting. This krill oil sensation, I mean, it is all over the news, Dr. Neil Levin. Great studies are out there. Many experts are declaring that krill oil is better than fish oil. So give us this lowdown on this Krill Omega 50 Plus formula.
Right. Steve, you know, if I told you, and we did talk about this before the show, that there's this one tiny pill that benefits the joints and the brain and memory, mood, coronary heart disease, wonderful for the arteries, makes your hair shine, great for the skin. I mean, what would you say to that?
Hey, where is it? Where can I get this stuff?
Right, and we have it. It's Krill Omega 50 Plus, and we're going to give it to everybody for free today. And that's really cool, because Purity wants everybody to try this, because they know they're going to see a huge difference. But get this. On top of that, for the first 1,000 people that call today, we're giving away a second gift, because I just demanded this. You know, when we're dealing with the 50-plussers, and hey, you know, if you're 40 and you feel like your energy is low, this is for you also. But for people 50 and over, we're also giving away free B12 energy melts. I demanded this because, hey, as we're getting a little older, we don't absorb that B12 as well, and I want you to feel the benefits from this Krill Omega 50 Plus. I'm going to jack up those B12 levels for you today as well. You know, what a value proposition.
You know, when it comes to your health, it really is a win-win. This is amazing. I heard you say that this can actually reduce the risk of coronary heart disease. I mean, when you hear that, whose ears don't perk up after that? How exactly does that work anyway?
Right. Well, Krill Omega 50 Plus, remember, this is the combination of krill oil with the high omega-3, highly concentrated fish oil. So it's much higher in omega-3s than most krill oil formulas would be. So when we're dealing with the high omega-3 fish oil, we're talking about support for the HDL cholesterol, healthy, youthful, flexible arteries. That's so great for the circulation, heart and muscle strength, platelet activity, red blood cells that stay nice and soft and flexible so they can work their way through those little capillaries. Oh, what about triglycerides? That becomes so important. So this Krill Omega 50 Plus supports the heart in so many ways. And, you know, the bottom line is we need to think about this, because as we're getting a little older, 50 plus, maybe mid-40s, certainly 60s and 70s, it's decision time. I mean, you know your body's not working the way it did when you were in your 30s.
Exactly.
The energy might not be there. You need to make a decision. Are you going to take it laying down and just let yourself get old, or are you going to do something about it? Are you going to stay physically active? Are you going to do the things you need to stay healthy? And getting these omega-3s, the krill oil, the vitamin D, the antioxidants make such a difference. This is a game changer for anybody in that 50-plus age group.
Doc, this is absolutely great information. I know that omega-3s, talk about that just for a second, are best known for their cardiovascular benefits, and they're certainly also known as brain food. Now, we've discussed this in some of the past shows. If you would, touch on the brain benefits for our listeners listening out there today, and tell us why you say that supplementing with omega-3s isn't just a good idea for the brain, but an absolute necessity.
Oh, this is such an important point that you're bringing up. Absolutely. For brain health, we must get these omega-3s back in there. You know, when you think about omega-3s and you think about brain health and memory and mood and feeling sharp, you really want to single out the DHA component. That's the docosahexaenoic acid. You know what, Steve? Your brain is 60% fat by weight, and of that, 25% needs to be DHA. You know what I use an analogy in my practice? People understand calcium and bone health, right? If you don't have calcium in your diet and you don't supplement with calcium, your bones are going to get brittle and weak. You understand that, right?
Right, exactly.
That's what happens to bones. Bones need calcium for their normal strength and structure. Now, with the brain, it's the same. DHA for normal structure. We use this for one brain neuron to communicate with another, to build out the brain, to make the serotonin, the dopamine, all the feel-good neurotransmitters. So must have it, must get it back in there. So important. And with this Krill Omega 50 Plus, we've increased the level of DHA because we put the concentrated omega-3s in there. Now, with Krill Omega 50 Plus, you're going to get 130 milligrams of DHA per serving, Steve.
Wow.
The leading brand of krill oil, you're going to get 24.
Excellent.
24 in the leading brand. You're going to get 130 with Krill Omega 50 Plus. That's why this is so incredible for the brain.
This is absolutely exciting. I got to tell you, though, during the last Krill show that we did together, you totally shocked me, Doc. I remember this specifically. You said that...
Tell me, I'm on the edge of my seat. What did I say?
You said, and I remember that the studies show that krill oil improves joint comfort in just 7 days. Now, if the benefits for the brain and the heart didn't perk my ears up, that certainly would. If you would, touch on the study and tell us how this works.
Right. That was a great study. In fact, that's the reason I started taking krill oil about 5-6 years ago. Pilot study, double-blind, placebo-controlled, exactly what you want to see out of the Journal of the American College of Nutrition. Now, participants got 300 milligrams of krill oil or placebo. Now, remember, in Krill Omega 50 Plus, we're giving you even more. We're giving you 500 milligrams of krill oil, so even more potent. But the participants in the study that got the krill oil got some amazing joint benefits, Steve. Get this, in just 7 days, and you remember this from the last show, but in just 7 days, they were 28% more comfortable. That's a jaw dropper. When I read that, I immediately went out and bought my first bottle of krill oil. But after 30 days, they were 38% more comfortable. The researchers didn't stop there. They looked at flexibility of the joints. They looked at function of the joints, all improved, and I call this the krill oil advantage. So if you're out there and you're taking fish oil, well, fish oil is great. I mean, fish oil is in here. It's so important, but you're not going to get the same joint advantages just on krill. You're not going to experience this joint comfort benefit that we get specifically from the krill. And remember, in Krill Omega 50 Plus, we've jacked up the levels of the krill 67% more. So in terms of dosage, fantastic.
That's big. That is absolutely big. Hey, I was on the website, and the testimonials on the Krill Omega 50 Plus, they're incredible. I mean, people obviously love this product. I'd like to share a couple of my favorites here.
Sure.
Believer writes in, she's a female age 45 to 54 from Georgia. She rates it 5 out of 5 stars. She writes, "This has helped. Less grind on my knees when climbing up the steps. Beneficial to my overall health, both physically and mentally. I just feel better," is what she said. Also, Safety Susan, age 55 to 64 from Sacramento, California. She writes to 5 out of 5 stars. "I was a little worried about fishy aftertaste. However, I have not burped it even once." She goes, "I like it better than regular fish oil. The capsule size is smaller and it's easy to swallow." This is big, the capsule size being smaller.
And I'm really glad you picked that one out because Safety Suzanne picks out a very important point there. I don't think we've really harped on this enough because people have trouble swallowing those huge horse pills, those huge omega-3 pills. These are tiny. So this is why this is such a breakthrough. These capsules are so small and easy to swallow. Anybody can easily swallow them. But at the same time, we've increased the dosage of krill by 67%. We've boosted the antioxidant power. The vitamin D is in there. We supercharged the whole thing with the high omega-3, highly concentrated fish oil. So important for the heart. So Yeah, Safety Suzanne, she really nailed it there. I want to read a couple myself. This one in front of me, Blessed. She's in the 55 to 64 age bracket, Fort Worth, Texas, 5 out of 5 stars. She writes, I was experiencing brain fog. I couldn't remember things at work, felt I was slowing down mentally. Purity was offering a free bottle. I've been taking it for a year, and I swear by it. I have experienced a difference in my brain and body. Good for you, Blessed. Let me read one more. Odie, 54. Male in the 55 to 64 category, 5 out of 5 stars. He's from Canada. He writes, awesome experience. I started taking Krill Omega 50 Plus about 5 weeks ago and have nothing but good things to say about it. I'm experiencing more benefits than I thought possible. The most noticeable is that I feel more mentally alert. I'm finding it easier to get out of bed in the morning. I feel satisfied with 6 to 8 hours of sleep. I wake up with an energy that I haven't felt in a long, long time. You know what? I'm not surprised at these testimonials at all because, again, I take this product myself. It's fabulous. My patients love the Krill Omega 50 Plus. They feel it in their joints. They feel it in their brain. They feel it in their energy, their circulation. They just feel better. That's what everybody tells me when they get in this Krill Omega 50 Plus.
Now, Dr. Neil Evans, talk for a minute, if you would, about the B12 Energy Melts, too. This is really an exciting addition.
So important.
You gave these away in our last Krill show as well, and the feedback has been absolutely overwhelming. People simply love the energy, the pep, the vigor they feel when they have their B12 levels restored with these. And now Purity's going to do it again. So 2 free bottles here today for the listeners. Tell us about this.
Yeah, remember, first of all the listeners today that pick up the phone and call are going to get a free bottle of this Krill Omega 50 Plus, amazing, with the krill oil, 67% more krill oil, the high omega-3 fish oil, boosting those omega-3 levels, so critical for the heart, for the skin, for the hair, for the eyes. On top of that, we added the vitamin D, so important, so pure, so pristine. But now, the B12 Energy Melts, why are they here? I said to Purity, I said, guys, we're dealing with the 50-plussers here. Even people 45, 50, 60, 70, they're having more trouble absorbing the B12, and B12 is critical. You think B12, think energy. If your energy is low and you're in your 50s or 60s, I mean, it may be a B12 issue. B12 helps the body to make red blood cells. We need that to carry oxygen to the tissue, so important for energy. B12 helps us to burn carbohydrates and turn them into energy. B12 for your hair, your skin, your nails. So these B12 Energy Melts, they're fantastic. You put one on your tongue, tastes delicious. Seconds later, it's gone. And what B12 Energy Melts do is they help bump up your levels of B12. And if you were a little low on B12, you really do feel the difference. The first thing you notice is energy. Everybody's going to love these 2 products. Make sure you're one of the first 1,000 callers so you get both for free. And just give these a try. You're going to fall in love with both of them. You'll tell your friends, you'll tell your relatives, and, oh, Steve, it's really a free bottle. And it really is only $6.95 shipping. It's not one of those deals where, hey, if you're one of the first 1,000 callers, they'll give you 2 bottles, but you got to pay 2 shipping charges. No. They come together in one box, $6.95. That's it. Get both bottles for free. Take advantage. You're going to love it.
And, you know, the other part of that, too, the shipping is 100% refundable. Yeah.
Purity knows you're going to love these. They want you to try it. They know you're going to tell your friends and your relatives and your loved ones. This is how Purity's been doing business forever. They want you to try it. Their products are superior, and you're going to notice the benefits.
So here's that number. I want to give out that number real quick for those listening out there. It's 1-800-500-1842. Again, that number is 1-800-500-1842. Simply call now. Purity is going to rush you out your free bottle of Krill Omega 50 Plus to try for yourself. And that's what's exciting about this deal. You get to try it for yourself. With the shipping being 100% refundable, it's a win-win, really. So remember, Krill Omega 50, it features these tiny power-packed soft gels, which are so easy to swallow. No more of those big, what they call horse pills. They're easy to swallow. Plus, they're super concentrated and ultra purified. But the special offer, it gets even better. So listen to this. If you're one of the first 1,000 callers from this weekend's radio show, as Dr. Neil Evans said a moment ago, Purity is also going to give away a free bottle of their delicious B12 Energy Melts. You're going to love these B12 melts, folks. It's for an instant burst of natural energy that you can enjoy every day to give you that boost. So to get started on this double free offer, call 1-800-500-1842. Again, I'm going to say it slowly so you can write this down. 1-800-500-1842. Now, this special offer is not available in stores or online, only through this special hotline set up for today's show. So call right now for your free bottle of Krill Omega 50 Plus and your free B12 Energy Melts at 1-800-500-1842. Again, that's 1-800-500-1842. One more time, slowly, for 2 free bottles today. Write it down, 1-800-500-1842. Now, Doc, I've seen these ads where they say that krill oil is 48 times stronger than fish oil. Is that true? Does that make any sense?
Well, obviously these are the krill guys talking, right?
Right.
But you could look at it both ways. Let's get into krill in just a moment. But first, let's pat the fish oil guys on the shoulder because, you could say that the fish oil is better and stronger, but we're talking about the concentrated high omega-3 fish oil here because it's higher in the omega-3s, the EPA and DHA that are so important for the heart, the brain, the memory, mood, your eyes, your skin, your hair, your nails. So in one sense, you could say, well, the fish oil's better. But in another sense, I have to hand it to the krill guys because in terms of antioxidant power, krill oil is extraordinary. And it's because there's a molecule in krill oil that's naturally occurring called astaxanthin. And this astaxanthin, Steve, this is one of the most powerful antioxidants we've ever discovered. Steve, by one measure of antioxidant activity, it's 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C.
Wow.
So amazing antioxidant power in the krill. And now, as we're getting older, 50-plussers like myself, I'm 52, and we don't make as many antioxidants naturally. Our antioxidant systems are kind of slowing down, and at the same time, we're producing more free radicals naturally. This is why we call it Krill Omega 50 Plus. Extra antioxidant power and extra krill. Remember, 500 milligrams of krill instead of 300, that's 67% more. Plus, the vitamin D, so important for us, and this is just an incredible value proposition. I have folks, they were going out and they were getting the krill separately and the fish oil separately, the antioxidants, the vitamin. You could spend $75 doing that.
No kidding.
You're getting it all for free today. This is the best of both worlds, this combination product with the krill and the fish oil. It's not one being better than the other. They're both great, and this is the best of both worlds.
Thank God for Purity products. I'm serious. Seriously, because when you think about where our food supply has gone and where we are today, we have to have something that allows us to feel better as we age, to age gracefully. It's amazing to me as we talk about this.
And that's why I love the way that Purity gives away the free bottles. Because, people can be skeptical.
Sure.
They should be skeptical. But now they can be skeptical and they say, okay, you know what? This sounds pretty important. I'm going to give this a go. It's only going to cost me $6.95. And they get it and they try it out. And what they start to see, because it doesn't take long. Remember that joint study, 7 days, 28% more comfortable. What they start to see is, hey, I'm more comfortable. I feel better. They notice their energy is better. And they realize, hey, you know what? This is important. And they tell their friends and they tell their relatives and they tell their loved ones. And Purity's been doing business this way for, 20 years now. Let's look at one more. This is a great testimonial by Gracie. 5 out of 5 stars. She writes, it works. I feel a difference in my joints after only 1 week. Also, you have the nicest staff. That's what Gracie writes. You have the nicest staff. People are going to appreciate working with Purity. They're a fantastic company. They put their money where their mouth is. They give out free bottles, and you try it, and you're like, wow, this is great stuff. Thank God for Purity.
Let's talk about the heart health for a moment. It's probably the single greatest concern that people face as they age. So anything that we can do to boost heart health becomes really a top priority. You know this, I know this, and those folks out there know this as well. And I know you mentioned earlier that omega-3s literally lower our risk of coronary heart disease. Do I have that correct? Because that's a big statement.
Absolutely. I mean, protecting the heart, this is what put omega-3s on the map back in the 70s. Dr. Dyerberg discovered, how protective they were for the Eskimos. Mm-hmm. By the way, he's a wonderful guy. I had lunch with him a year or two ago. Great conversation. But bottom line is omega-3s protect our heart in so many ways. They promote a smooth, rhythmical heartbeat, important for the body's normal inflammatory response in the heart muscle, inside the arteries and veins. They promote those youthful, flexible arteries, so important for circulation. They promote healthy blood platelet activity, healthy red blood cell activity. They support a healthy blood pressure. That's very important. Triglycerides. So they do so much for the heart. So simply amazing cardiovascular protection with these omega-3s.
It just keeps getting better, doesn't it? Hey, you know, I gotta remind our listeners.
I have patients coming in here all the time, and I'm like, are you taking your omega-3s? I hope you're still taking your omega-3s. You know, they're afraid to say no. They know I'm like the omega-3 doctor. Take your omega-3s. In fact, if there was only one nutrient that I could take, Steve, honest to God, if there was only one nutrient that I could take, hands down, it's omega-3s. That's the first most important nutrient you could take. And this Krill Omega 50 Plus, I love the way they combine the krill oil with the fish oil, so you get the best of both worlds. Can't beat it.
I've got to remind our listeners out there about this free bottle deal that's going on. The Krill Omega Plus and the B12, it is a part of the special radio offer today. You just pay the shipping and you try it for free. And that number for those listening out there, write this down. It's 1-800.